they must meet any requirements of the Planning Commission, which they have done. Typically, that's where it would stop. They'd be clear to go develop and build as they see fit within compliance of our ordinances. In this particular case, council did the prudent thing, and since it is town property, they also require the town council, you guys, to actually approve the site plan. And as you know, there have been multiple renditions of that site plan, and I think now that we finally have one that we can all agree to. One of the biggest issues that we had was we wanted green space, lots and lots of green space on that property. The other was sidewalks and trail system. This site plan that you have before you tonight actually accomplishes those objectives, and I know that each of you have had a copy of this independently to be able to look at and gather thoughts and input on that site plan. And I think this is something, I know it's something to be great for the community. And the only thing we're lacking for them to be able to proceed is the approval of that site plan. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the site plan as designed.
So moved.
A motion on the floor by Council Lady Austin.
Second.
Second by Councilman Alexander. Discussion. Anybody want to say anything positive about it?
I'm excited.
I'm really excited.
We're ready for them to break ground.
Ready for them to break ground. So for David and anybody else who might want to see it, there'll be a copy up here you guys are welcome to take a look at. This came from my packet. But again, it's going to be a beautiful subdivision that will incorporate a lot of our history, not only in its name, but in the location. And I think it's a first step to revitalizing the Mill Village and that area of town as a whole. So we're really excited about it. All right, any other discussion? Oh, and did I mention that the town also stands to benefit financially from the sale of each one of those lots? The town is actually partnering with this developer. This is town-owned property, and the town will receive, I think it's $3,000 per lot, and I think there's a total of 64, 33 and 31, so yeah, 64 lots in that subdivision. So again, we do our best to try to balance a budget out under the current millage rate without raising taxes. This is one way that it helps to do that, is taking advantage of our assets and using them wisely to generate revenue, much needed revenue. Any other discussion? Hearing none, wish y'all called a question. All in favor? All right. Let them know they're ready to get work. You're ready to get work. We're very excited.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was a little distracted.
Discussion period's over.
But I'm really looking forward to this getting started. I think it's going to be a great asset for the town of Williamston.
This is your award too, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Fantastic.
I'm really excited about it.
Quite frankly, I just like the fact that they're not all crammed in there like every other neighborhood.
Yes.
I do too. That was
We
one of
do
our
too.
biggest fears. We'd end up with a bunch of row homes, clear-cut trees, and no
unhappy
amenities.
neighbors.
And looking at this system here, a lot of MFR getting moved to R7. I like that idea too.
Yeah.
Yep.
To my knowledge, this is the first subdivision that will be built in the town of Williamston that will have sidewalks. Is that correct?
First one that I'm aware of, full subdivision.
So that's awesome. And we hope to tie it into the trail system.
It will be
It will be
tied in the
tied in.
trail system. Initially, the trail system tie-in may be a gravel or a nature trail, if you will, until we're able to secure funding to actually concrete or asphalt that trail. But it will have a connection from there to along our sewer right-of-way, cross over William Street into Veterans Park and connect back in. So it'd be a short walk. Be a great community to live in. Imagine being able to get up in the morning, go take your dog for a walk, go walk anywhere in town. So we're really, really excited about it. All right. Anything else on the Brock Lane? We've called a question. We're good on it. Next up, we have approval to redirect previously approved funds to purchase and install a pickleball fence. I have a left and right I didn't make enough copies for everybody. So as you will recall, our initial pickleball investment for pickleball courts was roughly $160,000. They got in and got to looking at some of the issues we had regarding soil, and the high water table, the torrential rains that we've had really made the area in its current condition unsuitable to pave over. Literally, the paver would have gotten out there to pave and probably went up to its axles in mud. So council approved an additional $90,000 out of reserves to continue that process of getting the pickleball in the form of soil remediation. The good Lord has been very, very good to us in the past few weeks as far as rain. We like to have rain, we just don't like an abundance of rain, particularly when we're trying to pave courts and get these projects done. I'm happy to report that the contractor has came out. They have done the initial milling up of the old asphalt, and what that did, the old asphalt basically put a cap on the ground. So when we built the wall, there was some ruts in there with the concrete trucks and stuff, so the water would actually go in, enter the soil, and saturated the soil, and it had no way of evaporating because it had the cap, asphalt cap on top of it. So they milled all that up, took those millings, formed a base, compacted that base, and at this point it is drying out fairly nicely, and it is our hope that there will not be $90,000 worth of soil remediation required. In the initial bid and the RFP that was put out for the pickleball courts, we were planning on doing our own fencing, having a local contractor or vendor do that, and I had three that we were very familiar with who have done quality work for us in the past at a reasonable price point. We thought that maybe we'd be able to get it done less expensively locally. Anybody can put a fence up. A chain link fence, it's a black chain link fence that is black in color, has the black vinyl coating. And so I have reached out to those vendors, one of which is no longer in business. The other two are so slammed, it would be next year before they could do anything with it. That being said, I asked Talbot Tennis, who was the bidder and won the low bid on the pickleball courts, to provide an alternate price. They provided two alternate prices. One is for a 4-foot perimeter fence around the pickleball courts, and then 4-foot divider fences in between the 8 courts. I asked them to provide a second proposal, which would include a 6-foot perimeter fence around the courts, around all 8 courts, and then 4-foot dividers in between courts. It is my hope that a 6-foot fence would discourage people from climbing and or sitting on top of the fence. Chain link fences get damaged pretty heavily by people climbing and sitting on them. So they provided a proposal. Lee, may I look at that for just a quick second? The proposal for the 6-foot perimeter and 4-foot divider in between courts came to be $34,950. And what I'm asking council for permission to do is that if the soil remediation comes to less than the $90,000 approved, that you allow me to use the $34,950 of that to install the fencing as required by the pickleball courts. So I make that in the form of a motion, since it is my request. Again, any of the $90,000 that has been appropriated for the soil remediation, any of that that's not being used will go to this, and anything if there's anything left over after that, will go right back into reserves, where it was originally pulled from. Do I have a motion to do that?
You made a motion.
I made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a second by Councilman Alexander. Any discussion?
Just one thought that I have. I understand the reason why a 6-foot fence would make sense, but I'm thinking if we eventually spend money to paint a mural, you don't want to block the mural with a fence from the view of the road to kind of draw people into the park. So that may be something to consider. We may need to stay at 4 feet in certain areas, because it wouldn't be worth to spend that much money on a mural and then block it with a fence. Just
That is
to
something I
consider.
have not thought of. I will tell you that the contractor did recommend a 6-foot perimeter, again, to discourage people from climbing on it. Once you enter into the pickleball courts, the mural will definitely be front and center. That's what you'll see, because that is you're only gonna have 3 sides of fencing, so the mural will actually be the backstop for the back side of it. So it will definitely be visible and front and center there, but you make a good point, and I'll bring that up with the contractor and just see what his thoughts are.
Maybe if they could do a 6-foot tall on the front, but maybe they skew their design a little bit to where it's 4 foot, and then maybe, some.
Well,
candles or something.
if we look at doing that, like I said, the 4-foot tall, this is what he originally proposed, was the 4-foot perimeter, 4-foot divider fence. It only came out to $30,932. So if we did that, we could actually save $4,000 by having a 4-foot as opposed to a 6-foot fence. Again, I'll leave that up to y'all. It really makes no difference to me. I'm just excited to see it happening. My only concern is people climbing on the fence, but again, they're still gonna climb on it. If they go inside and climb on the divider fence, you can still climb on that fence. So we're really gonna have to work hard to try to keep people off that fence. So,
Mayor, and I may have read it wrong, but this is just 3 sides. There will not be a fence on the back side where the mural is. Is that correct?
that is correct. If y'all, I don't know if y'all have been able to see this, but basically, you have 8 pickleball courts. You will have, let me see, when we get acclimated here. You have the backside already has the stop. So basically, you would have a fence line 4 or 6 foot on those 3 sides, adjoining the perimeter of the entire 8 pickleball courts. Inside, separating the courts, this way, you would have a 4-foot fence, and then dividing at the halfway section, basically dividing the 4 courts in half, you'd have another 4 foot. And one thing that we asked for him to do is in between each playing area, to have a 4-foot opening, so you can cross from one court to the other court without having to jump a fence. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hopefully that will do 2 things. It will discourage people from climbing over the fence to get to the other court, because it's much easier just to walk around. The other thing too, is he said that each lives and breathes pickleball. I don't. But he said that people love to have that ability to be able to cross courts. But that was still the fencing will still keep the ball in the play area and that type stuff.
Is that gonna be the black vinyl coated?
It
as
will be the
well?
black vinyl coated. It's more of a plastic coating. It is black vinyl coated. It says it in there,
Yeah.
black vinyl coated.
I didn't know if that included the dividing 4-foot.
It
fences.
does. All of it will be the black vinyl coated, and has a great warranty on it. If you look at chain link over, Lord, the fence we took down out there had been up for years and years. It had the rusty look. It looked terrible. I've used the black vinyl myself, and it's lasted since 2001. It still looks brand new like the day we put it up. So hopefully it's something that'll last for a very long time and serve our residents for many years to come, and visitors for many years to come. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Did we have a second? I can't remember. Got a second from Councilman Alexander. Any further discussion?
He was the first, right?
All right, hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? And we have none opposed. All right, it seems like there was something I needed to discuss with y'all in executive session. Rain, can you remember anything right off the top of your head? Okay.
But I have before we talk about executive session, can I get some clarification on something that we've already voted on?
Absolutely.
All right, on the rezoning, we voted once, but there are actually 4 different ordinances in our packet. Do we need to vote 4 times and not just once?
Rain?
Just one time? Okay.
Any others?
Good.
All right, so, this is a public concern, so I don't want to bring this up in executive session, although this will be the first time you've heard it. I'd rather do it in public so that everybody's aware of what I'm thinking and what action council may be taking. Our food truck ordinance that was adopted a while back has caused some problems, as David can attest to, with Springwater Festival Committee, particularly with town-sanctioned events, whereby it may be a 1 or 2 day event and that's it. I know the intent because I was involved with the creation of that ordinance. The intent was for folks who come and set up food trucks regularly as opposed to a 1 or 2 day festival. What I have found is that it leads to more questions than answers, and it becomes a real convoluted matter. I do want for anybody who serves any type of prepared food within the town of Williamston, number one, to be DHEC compliant. Number two, to contribute to hospitality tax just the same as any other brick and mortar business that invest their hard-earned dollars and potentially their life savings in our community. What I would request temporarily until we can get a meeting of the Ordinance Review Committee and then any type of alterations or adjustments to our food truck ordinance, I would request that council allow me the flexibility to be able to permit a vendor at a town-sanctioned event to set up for a 1 or 2 day event. Does that make sense? I'm not talking about a person who comes in and sets up regularly once a week on town property. I'm talking about specifically town events that are in some way sanctioned or approved by the town. Again, I will require at a minimum that they meet all DHEC regulations that the state requires. In addition, I'll also require them collect hospitality tax as any other brick and mortar would do. But I am requesting permission for council to allow me administratively to approve for 1 or 2 day events.
Is that in the form of a motion, sir?
It is not on our agenda, but I'm going to ask if anybody objects just to speak out now. If they don't, we'll just roll on with it. In the meantime, this will be temporarily until we can get a formal change to our ordinance.
Just so I fully understand, what exactly is the difference between them permitting it for a 1 to 2 day event?
So DHEC requires certain things from certain 1 or 2 day events. They require something totally different for someone who sets up and does this on a regular basis. In other words, that's their bread and butter. They have a business they set up in town. The biggest example I can give would be Sammy Street Tacos. They're the one that is pretty regular. They come in. The food truck ordinance would still apply. The difference would be, let's say, and by the way, I need to make an announcement too. The 5th through the 14th, you have Midway Amusements setting up in the old Ace Hardware parking lot, and they will be here for Cinco de Mayo. They will also be here for Pig in the Park. It would allow for them to be able to continue as they're doing for a 1 to 2 day event, such as the Cinco de Mayo thing, such as the Pig in the Park event, where they don't have to come in. If you tell a vendor, here's what we found. If you tell a food truck vendor or a person who just does festivals, you got to pay this fee to Pig in the Park, you got to pay 20% or 15%, whatever that is, to the event organizer, and then you have to also do, what is it, Debbie, can you give the stipulation, a $100 fee or something like that?
It's $50 for the sled background check, but they can bring their own. If they bring their own, it's.
We'll accept that.
Yeah, and then a $10 for a permit once everything is approved. They have to bring their DHEC, thing from DHEC, and they have to get a business license. And if they're 1 day, it's $20, and if they're a year, depending on if they're inside vendor or outside vendor according to what the license costs. And most
So-
people are temporary, so that'd be $20 for those.
And what I'm finding is oftentimes it's kind of a spur of the moment thing. For example, Envision Williamston decides, hey, let's do a Cinco de Mayo thing, and they're trying to put it all together. They're trying to get food trucks to come to help make that event successful and to have offerings. And I've found, and the event organizers have said, this makes it really, really difficult to do at times. If you're planning out long-term, it's not necessarily as big of an issue as it is on short notice.
And if you have vendors that's gonna come, especially for Cinco de Mayo, I don't know all the insides, but just from what I've been gathering, if you get vendors that's gonna come on short notice, they're doing us a favor.
Yeah.
They're doing us a favor, so therefore we should do everything possible to make it, as simple to obtain whatever it is, whatever they need in order to make that happen.
All I'm asking for is some discretion in it. That's it.
You have my blessings on that discretion.
All right.
Of course, Mayor, I wouldn't presume to give you any legal advice, but I believe under our form of government, you have the discretion in the administration of these ordinances, so.
Well-
But I would, and I will, I'll look into, I was also part of, creating that previous ordinance under the direction of, the mayor and council at the time, and I'll be happy to look back at it and see if, we can have a proposal for the next meeting to, make it better.
Okay. And Debbie, I think, could help shed some light on where some of the pitfalls are. Like I said, the biggest thing is, I literally got a phone call today, where you had a cancellation. Oh, and by the way, we're adjusting some dates, and now we a lot of stuff's going on at one time, and to try to make it all work becomes a lot of time impossible. And like what you mentioned, Councilman Haygood, is sometimes they're actually doing us a favor by coming. The Jazz Festival, I mean, it's great to have that jazz as something to do, but in reality, you might have 10, 15, 20 people show up, to an event like that. That's great, and it's something to do, and it's an offering we will continue to do. But at the same time, these people who do this for a living know they're not going to come out and just make a killing that night on an event like that. But yet, we still want them to come out, participate, and have stuff for us to do, and add to the amenities that are offered in town. I hope that, I'm tired, but I hope that I have expressed that in detail, clearly. So I appreciate y'all's information, and I agree, technically under a form of government, I could probably do a lot of things that I'm just not comfortable doing without y'all's blessing. We're all a team here, and we make decisions collectively and together, and I certainly value y'all's input. All right. Do we have anything further? Anybody have anything for the good of the order? Here.
Just want to say real briefly, God continue to bless the awesome team that has been assembled here. You guys are awesome to work with. And that is from the heart.
I agree.
We have a great
100%. May I make a request from the Williamston Journal? I'm going to say it loud for the people in the back. We will have a balanced budget. All right, at this time, we'll proceed to close. Have a motion to close our meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Haygood.
A second.
Second by Council Lady Austin. I don't believe we have any discussion, do we? Hearing none, we stand adjourned.
I'm glad we can catch the next meeting.
Thank you for coming.
Right, good night.
Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, real quickly, the reason that I did not support the passing of the budget ordinance because I was not here last week.
You just hit the.